of course, this morning for the IPO of Gardner Denver. By the end of this year, we could see a similar crowd for Spotify, but not because it's going to go public in the traditional way through an IPO, but because it is going to list directly here at the New York Stock Exchange, that at least according to people who are familiar with the situation. As has been reported previously, Spotify is considering and is still currently focused on a direct listing. If that listing takes place, which does appear likely, most likely by the fourth quarter or perhaps early next year, it will take place right here at the NYSE. Should be an interesting morning for what, of course, is by far the leader, far and away, in the streaming of music services around the globe. A Stockholm-based company with a very significant presence right here in New York City. Currently valued, at least according to the last trade that took place in the secondary market, at about $13 billion. They're not looking to raise capital. In fact, they're free cash flow positive. What they are looking to do is create liquidity for their employees and, more importantly, for their early investors who want to sell. And they're considering doing that, strongly considering it. In fact, expect to do it through a direct listing that will list right here at the NYSE. Perhaps before the end of the year. It's going to be an interesting process, very similar to an initial public offering, but in this case, you don't have underwriters. They do have advisors. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Allen & Company are advising the company. They will have an education process for the potential buyers of those listed shares, so essentially you will have access to all the same information you would, though it won't necessarily be in an S1 filing. It will still be available to you in very significant ways. I suppose they'll still ring a bell when it actually starts trading on that morning. But it is interesting to note. And a fascinating business, guys. Spotify has 50 million subscribers, 43% top line growth, over 3,000 employees. And when you look at that value versus Pandora, which we spent a lot of time talking about, it's about 7 times as big.
Wow. Our money could help Pandora expand, but Spotify is really way ahead.
Spotify is so far ahead in terms of streaming. So dominant, even versus Apple or Amazon or any of them at this point. Really interesting, and will be an interesting company. They would hope, I would expect, that it will trade on a peer multiple to the likes of a Netflix as opposed to anything like a Pandora.
Fangs? Are you talking about Fangs?
So we'll get an opportunity in the not too distant future to be talking more about Spotify.